or like in any outhouse because he ran into an outhouse and changed his clothes.
Again, because like no one cared because
he
like
had to be covered in blood.
yeah.
So
you had like
who was the guy that was bloody? Look for that dude.
Yeah. Did you guys see anyone walk around just covered in blood?
Like literally covered in the most amount of blood ever. Looked like he dived into blood. Where's that dude? Did he walk by here? Oh, your outhouse is also covered in blood.
Yeah.
Can you please just show me who used it? Hello and welcome back to the Mysterious Pals Show. This is part 2 of Who Was Jack the Ripper, a story we started in part 1 on last week's episode. Thank you for being with us here, and we're going to jump right back into the story where we left off last week.
Queen Victoria herself weighed in on this, saying she believed the murder could be a butcher or a cattle drover from cattle boats between London and Europe due to the murder pattern in Whitechapel. So the regular docking, these boats came in on Thursdays and Fridays near the London docks. So a lot of these happened either at the first of the month, end of the month, or close to the weekend. So she's thinking like based on the shipping or like the ship schedules coming in and out by some of these like cattle or butchers meant that this person was coming in on the weekends doing this stuff and then leaving on these boats.
What if it was Queen Victoria? What if she was Jack the Ripper? She's like all bored in the castle. Yeah. I'm going to go mess some stuff up in the streets. They catch her like coming in the window like, oh crap, jig's up.
One of the suspects has something to do with Queen Victoria herself.
Nice. Wait, it has to do with her or is her?
Has to do with like her family.
Oh, man.
Very close though. So again, yeah, all these murders are in the end of the week or end of the month, but of course, except for Mary Jane Kelly's 9th of November. But murders continue to keep happening after this time. But like I said before, like a lot of the police investigators that were running this stuff, or even like some of the coroners or people who are doing autopsies, are like, yes, these are very horrible things happening, but they're not quite fully in line with whatever else Jack the Ripper had done with those 5 other women.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to start naming off some people that were considered suspects, but they were considered suspects by people during the time, like contemporary people, like people that were actually working the case in newspapers.
Is this the common theories, the popular theories about this story?
There's like hundreds of people that were named, so it's very hard to narrow some of these down, but like it seems like these might be the most probable.
And this is like people like, oh, my brother-in-law did it to get him like away from the family. They're like, my husband did it so that there's like, yeah.
But these are like suspects that were actually suspects at the time that the police like sought out. And like some of these people actually were interrogated. One was named John Pizer. Pizer was a Polish Jew bootmaker who lived in Whitechapel. He's charged with assault on August 4th, 1888, but he's then released. So this is right not long before the very first murder. Pizer gained attention from the police and the media due to association with the local slaughterhouses and his reputation to be as a bully in the area, especially towards women.
Slaughterhouses, as in he's a butcher?
Yeah.
Okay, so he was a butcher.
So I saw he's a butcher, and then some people say he's a bootmaker. Most seem to say he's a bootmaker, but for some reason he had some kind of relationship with one of the local slaughterhouses.
Okay.
Or maybe he was a butcher on the side, too.
Right, so he had 2 jobs.
Yeah. So he gets arrested on September 1888 by Police Sergeant Thick after the murders of Mary Ann Nichols and Annie Chapman on suspicion of being Jack the Ripper. Primarily because of his nickname Leather Apron.
Nice.
And his alleged threats towards prostitutes.
So wait, is there any record that came the other way? Like, because this guy was Leather Apron, they put that in the story, kind of infected the stories?
I think it definitely seems possible, yeah.
Okay. All right.
But he was soon released afterwards due to lack of evidence committing him for the crimes. He had 2 alibis for the 2 of the murders. He was out of town with family for one of them and was actually talking to a police constable during the second one. I guess there's a fire going on. He's like talking to the constable. The constable calls him, talking to him. He's like, so you could have been one of the murders.
He's like wiping the blood off like, oh, look at this fire. This is crazy.
But this police sergeant Thick, like he was like a very prominent person during all these investigations during the time. Like when this was all happening.
He seemed to be right around there every time. It's weird.
So it's kind of surprised, like he has the alibis, but see, he's like later like cleared of like possibly even being a suspect. But this police sergeant was very adamant about this guy. Melvin McNaughton He made a list of 3 possible suspects in 1894. So this all ended in 1888. He became the assistant police commissioner. So he didn't really have any direct involvement during the time of the Ripper cases, but he's still in charge and they're still pursuing who Jack the Ripper was. But he came up with his 3 biggest possible people who he thinks were actual Jack the Ripper. Number 1 is Michael Ostrog. Michael Ostrog was sent to an asylum after trial for petty crime in 1887. So he had to go to asylum for petty crime. A lot of police during that time were like, why are we sending him to asylum if he's doing a petty crime? But he pretended like he was insane, apparently.
Oh, okay. This is whenever asylums were actually asylums.
Lunatic asylums. Yeah, right. They kept saying lunatic, and I did feel right saying that, but they can talk. They call them lunatic asylums.
Quote. You're quoting it. Yes.
Right, yeah. Okay. He gets released on March 10th, 1888, and just disappears.
Oh, wouldn't you? If he's coming out of an asylum, these people would lock me up. This is crazy.
He was a Russian-born conman who may or may not have had medical knowledge. He claimed he was a surgeon in the the Russian Navy.
Of course he would say that. Of course, a person that's crazy, unless he was smart enough to, get out of prison.
Yeah. Right. I mean, he was a con man. He gets later ruled out not until the 1990s by a historian named Philip Sugden. Sugden found records stating that Ostrog was actually in prison in France during the murders.
Okay. So he's in prison.
Yeah.
One prison to the other.
But this isn't found until the 1990s. Because what ended up happening was...
1990s or 1890s?
1990s.
Whoa.
So when I was trying to find a lot of the police reports, actual police documents, and apparently a lot of them got lost during the Blitz during World War II.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of these they're still out there, but a lot of these weren't being discovered until many years later. Clearly this guy found it in 1990, 100 something years later.
The Amber Room, and then these papers were all next to each other when they got blown up. Check out the Amber Room episode.
The second person that Melville mentions could be a possible suspect for Jack the Ripper is Aaron Kosminski. He was a Polish Jewish immigrant from Russia who lived in Whitechapel. He was a hairdresser by profession and suffered from mental health issues, reportedly exhibiting violent tendencies.
Do hairdressers this time learn about anatomy?
Yes, as they all do. But in the years following the Ripper murders, there were several mentions of Kosminski in police documents and testimonies. According to some of these sources, he was identified by a witness, but the evidence against him was considered circumstantial. It's also stated that a witness who was also Jewish, but didn't want to go on record stating that Aaron was this man because he's a fellow Jewish person. Because again, during this time, there's all this anti-Semitism, so he's like, this will only aid into what's happening right now.
Okay, so
he didn't want to incriminate a fellow Jewish person. Melville mentions Kosminski as had strong homicidal tendencies towards women, especially prostitutes. Kosminski was eventually committed to a mental institution in 1889, where he spent the rest of his life. He was committed in 1889. The murders stopped happening in 1888.
That's a pretty good one. Although he is a hairdresser,
right?
Unless he's studying anatomy on the side.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he would have some sharp objects, though.
You're right. Does he have time to practice
dissecting people?
Yeah, that's what I mean. The whole problem with this is,
again, these are all, and this is one of the guys. This assistant police chief this is one of his best theories. Is this man, and that's pretty. It seems like pretty thin.
Yeah.
To he might be him.
But also, did all the victims have nicely haircuts and then they're cut open?
They all had blowouts.
Yeah.
Nice perms.
Which have come back, by the way.
Perms have?
Yeah. High school kids get perms.
Really?
There was someone I know that said that before school began this year, they were like, in the last week, I've had so many boys come in for perms. It's ridiculous.
Boys too.
Oh, no, boys.
Oh,
no
boys.
girls.
Okay.
This is just boys. 30 in a week. It's a very popular thing to have curly hair right now, apparently.
I wonder why that is.
At this point in time, whatever you're watching this video, the time we posted it, it's very popular. Now I'm walking around looking at
is there some famous artist or athlete who has really curly hair? I feel like
it's just the popular thing. Again, it just comes back around, I guess. I don't know. It's just
why aren't bowl cuts popular, man?
That's net. It's coming. You gotta wait. Come back around. Actually, they were a couple years ago. The part down the middle with the bowl cut was popular.
What about rat tails? Do you think those will come back? I hope they do.
Of course they will. Male hair like the boys, male, like our hair, like trajectories are always, it's just like it's a circle is very fine. Like it's a very small circle. Perm, rat tail, part in the middle, bowl cut, like undercut,
Circle of life.
Yeah.
So I will say this one thing is kind of interesting. In 2019, some researchers claimed to have identified Kaczynski as Jack the Ripper through DNA analysis. So allegedly, there's a shawl that was found at the murder scene of Catherine Eddowes. She was the fourth one that was murdered.
Okay.
There's DNA that apparently belonged to him on the shawl as well as her own DNA.
So there's a connection between those two.
Yeah. Which would mean that he would have been or possibly could have been been Jack the Ripper. But this has been met with skepticism because there's no mention of a shawl in any actual police records.
Okay. I mean, they just found a shawl and were like,
this is it. This was there.
But both their DNAs are on it, which for that amount of time, I mean.
Yeah, but also like some people have denied that like that's either DNA would have been on there. But we're reading the police, like there are some like reports of what was found at the murder scene. This one website I kept going to is called Casebook. It's called www.casebook.org, and it's very thorough on there. And they had listings of what was on the possession of the murder victims, what was found around them. So I kept back and going and looking. I'm like, I didn't see anything mention of a shawl being found there. So, but I do think that's interesting that both DNA would be on this thing.
Yeah,
if it's actually real. The most likely suspect, he believed, this Melville assistant police chief, that was Montague John Druitt. He believed Druitt was a doctor, but in reality, he was actually the son of a doctor. He was actually a lawyer and a teacher. But I guess he could have, like, theoretically have some knowledge of human anatomy, maybe from his doctor, maybe if his doctor father, like maybe he might have heard some things or saw his dad work.
But I think practicing, like doing that for like the first victim was disemboweled, right? And
yeah.
So being able to find those things, cut them out so specifically.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like he was just hacking away and unless those things were all messed up and they're just kind of ripped out. Like,
he only had so much time to do this though, too. Like he had to do it really quickly.
Yeah, he had to know where that stuff was.
Exactly where it was, yeah.
And do it in a way that's not going to make a whole mess along. I mean, obviously it was a mess, but
I think all three of these guys are pretty flimsy.
I mean, they have to find someone.
Yeah, one he thought the guy was a doctor, but he wasn't.
I bet you everybody in the world at this point, everybody in Whitechapel and London are just like, find someone.
Yeah.
I mean, we still see that today.
Yeah.
Find someone, pin it on someone. Yeah, so we can stop talking about this.
But here's the thing: Druitt's body was found in the Thames River on December 31st.
That year, 1888.
Yeah. So right before 1889. Again, killings are done at this point, at least of the canonical five. Some claim he drowned himself out of guilt for committing the murders.
Convenient.
He also says in this memorandum that he wrote about who he thought the three people were, he states that he has private information that Druitt's family believe him to be the Ripper. That this guy's own family believe him to be the Ripper. That's all that's really stated about that.
That's kind of strange that his family are saying that he's the Ripper.
Yeah.
Because they want to sell likeness.
But could never go on, but it was never done on record.
Right.
So again, like, who knows?
Like his seventh cousin removed twice, whatever,
who never liked him.
Yeah. He was like, that guy's the Ripper. He called me the Ripper sometimes. Yeah.
So that's it for the Melville's three suspects. Again, I think they all seem kind of flimsy. A Chief Inspector Frederick Alberine of Scotland Yard, who worked during the murder, believed the Ripper to be a Serwin Klasowski, but a.k.a. George Chapman.
Why a.k.a. George Chapman?
Because he moved around a lot. I wanted to have like a more common name to fit in.
Gotcha.
Blend in maybe. Remember that guy that I said his name, Philip Sugden, that found the records of the one victim or suspect being in France during the murders. This guy, he's a modern day historian. He believes that this George Chapman to be the best suspect. George Chapman was a Polish-born, and he moved to London in 1887 or around 1888, shortly before the first murder. He worked as a barber.
Nice.
Coincidentally, he left shortly after the 5th murder. But I think he came back to the United States. Because at one point he was in the United States as well. Chapman's name came up in the Ripper investigations due to the suspicious background and series of deaths linked to him. He was abusive and misogynist.
Abusive and misogynist. Wasn't that I imagine like most males at the time?
I think so, yeah.
Society was abusive and misogynist?
They smacked around their wives.
Yeah.
In 1903, Chapman was arrested and later convinced for poisoning his common-law wife, Maud Marsh. During the investigation, it was revealed that he had been previously married to 2 other women who both died under mysterious circumstances, poisoning.
Were they ripped open? Probably not. Probably not the guy.
He was hung later that same year. But again, poisoning is not like the modus operandi of the MO of...
Makes no sense.
Yeah.
Why? I mean, yes, I'm sure there's lots of people running around doing the same crap at this time that never were caught.
1913, Chief Inspector John Littlechild names Francis Tumblety as a primary suspect.
What was that last name again?
Tumblety. John Littlechild, Chief Inspector.
No, the other one. Tumblety.
He names Francis Tumblety. I said Tumblety.
Frankie
maybe
T.
Tumblety. Tumblety was an Irish American who amassed wealth by posing as an Indian herb doctor in the United States and Canada. He was widely regarded as misogynistic and a fraud.
So the MO for a lot of these guys, it's kind of, it's all the same.
He was linked to a patient's death in Boston, but he evaded prosecution after a brief imprisonment. Tumblety openly despised women, especially prostitutes, claiming a bitter sentiment due to a failed marriage to a sex worker. He hosted a dinner party displaying women's reproductive organs, bragging that they came from various women, like races of women.
He had a party of that?
Yeah. So remember you're saying how like the people would like display the mummies. Maybe it's kind of along the same things. Like, look at all these.
He's collecting this stuff.
Yeah, look at all this stuff I got, guys. Isn't that cool? Aren't I cool? I thought it was kind of interesting. It's 1865. He was briefly arrested in connection with Abraham Lincoln's assassination, but he was released without charges.
Okay.
Apparently,
I was going to say
some of the John Wilkes Booth. He like something like that.
I thought you were going like Abe Lincoln was over there slashing people. He was ripping people open, coming back to that was a summer home over there.
He was arrested in England, 1888.
1888, the same year.
But he fled to France and then the United States. So, but I don't know, that whole thing seemed kind of goofy to me, but he was like a prime suspect for this chief inspector in 1913.
I think this chief inspector is full of baloney.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Thomas Neil Cream. Cream was born in Scotland in 1850. He moved to Canada and later the United States, where he obtained a medical degree. He
cut hairs. He cut hairs.
He's a barber, a doctor, and a butcher.
Yeah.
He was convicted of poisoning his wife in 1879, but was released from prison in 1891.
There's a lot of poisoning going on.
Allegedly due to his wealthy family influence. In 1892, Cream moved to London, where he continued his criminal activities. He targeted women, particularly prostitutes, and lured them with offers of medical assistance.
Was he recorded as being in England in 1888?
Only in 1892. And again, his MO was he involved poisoning his victims.
Okay, so that's not him.
He apparently poisoned several women in London. He was eventually, so this is why I put this one in here, because I was like, this is not it. He was eventually arrested, tried, and found guilty of murder in 1892. He was sentenced to death by hanging. But apparently the last words were, "I am Jack," and then he died.
Nice.
So that's why I put that one in there. I was like,
of course you're going to say that. I'm going to mess all this stuff up. This is like the guy who comes over and kicks over the sandcastle, the kid in your sandbox when you're little. He comes over and he's like, "Hey kid," pushes your face in sand, kicks over your sandcastle, takes your cookies, your crackers, calls you dumb, pulls on your pants, calls you a nerd. Like, that's the kind of guy this is.
All those crimes and execution occurred around the same time as Jack the Ripper. Record showed he's serving a 10-year prison sentence in Chicago during this time. So,
this guy's a doctor and he's just in jail. A rich doctor, right?
Yeah. Chief Inspector Frederick Aberline, who I think I mentioned earlier. He's the one that mentioned one of the other suspects. Pizer, I think. He thought that possibly the murderer could have been, in fact, a woman. Caroline Maxwell, witness following Mary Jane Kelly's murder, swears she saw Kelly after Kelly was supposed to already be dead. So he talked to this witness. She's like, no, I saw her at this time, but at the time, Kelly was actually dead. So he's like, well, maybe it was a woman.
Is there any records of them taking the handwriting of these people that they're trying and stacking it up against these letters?
I would imagine there would be.
Someone had to have done that along the way.
Yeah, because if they're sending him out, if they're getting this posted in the newspapers, it'd be like, hey, does anyone recognize this handwriting? I'd imagine they might be doing that. That would make sense.
Why don't they do that now? I mean, like, can't they go back through like history and like, I mean, I guess there's keeping records, like you said, after the Blitz and.
So there are people, modern day writers and historians who do that with some of these things that I'll quickly go into a little bit later. But I would imagine they're doing the same thing back then. So he proposed that could be a woman. Possibly this woman would be a midwife, because she might have the idea of the human anatomy. They see this woman walking on the street, blood on her. They'd be like, "Oh, she's just a midwife," even though like she might have committed all these crimes.
Right.
There's a woman that gets thrown out there.
But all the people that die were seen with a man before they died.
Right. So maybe she's dressing up as a man. I don't know. Okay. Cool. There's a Mary Eleanor Percy. She's executed in 1890 for the murder of Phoebe Hogg and her child. Percy's crime involved a gruesome murder in which she killed Phoebe Hogg and her 18-month-old daughter. The bodies were discovered in London with evidence suggesting that Percy had bludgeoned Phoebe Hogg to death and smothered the child, but she just claimed she was killing mice. She killed this woman because she was having an affair with the husband of this woman. Okay. But that woman was a midwife.
And she wasn't cutting those people open?
No.
Right.
So I'm quickly trying to go into some of these modern day theories that were done by people of more modern times. First three are going to be just crazy. Lewis Carroll was considered.
Lewis Carroll was
considered Jack the Ripper.
Who's Lewis Carroll again?
He wrote Alice in Wonderland.
Oh.
Does that make sense?
Alice in Wonderland. Okay, Lewis Carroll, that's that person's name? Mm-hmm. I thought it was Mr. Disney.
Didn't Mickey Mouse write that one?
Yeah. I thought Minnie and Mickey wrote that one.
One with the Mouseketeers?
Right. So you're telling me
Alice in Wonderland.
That person, they thought that person was the killer. When was this?
1970.
This wasn't Charles Dickens. This wasn't this person.
It wasn't Charlie D.
Okay.
This person theorized that since he was bullied in school, Lewis Carroll, as a young age, he had like a psychotic break.
So Lewis Carroll was a boy?
Yeah.
I guess Lewis. Okay.
He supposedly wrote hidden dark messages in his work with anagrams.
Nice. So that sounds like definitely what's in there.
I was looking at it, I was just like, nope. Second one is Prince Albert, the son of Queen Victoria. Some believe that there's no way this murder should never have been caught.
Oh, so I see it.
They must have been protected.
Right. That makes sense. It
was speculated it's syphilis, which made him go crazy. It also some people also believe that Mary Jane Kelly was pregnant with his child and was murdered either by him or someone else to cover up the fact that he was sleeping around with these prostitutes.
Syphilis, huh?
So this was a theory thrown out there. I can't remember, like in the 80s or 90s, but it ends up being written into a graphic novel and becoming a movie called From Hell. Johnny Depp was in it.
That makes sense.
Sweeney Todd.
Old Sweeney.
Yeah.
And wait, From Hell is about Jack the Ripper?
Yeah. But that movie they proposed, and this is a theory that's also thrown out there, is that it wasn't actually Prince Albert, it was the family physician who was doing this. Because he would have the medical knowledge. It's part of like this Masonic thing with all these like weird rituals, and like, so he's protecting the family from what Prince Albert was doing, but actually Prince Albert was actually in love with Mary Kelly, but it's also weird stuff.
So
some people say Prince Albert was a family physician that was doing this.
Family physician.
Yeah.
Man, there's just, I think any
Illuminati kind of stuff or something like that.
Anybody with a podcast or YouTube channel can come up with these ideas and just put them out there.
Yeah, right.
And just say whoever they want. Yeah. Hey, the guy who wrote, the chick falling down the well, Yeah, that guy probably did it. Like anybody at this time.
Chick falling down the well.
Yeah, with the blue dress.
Yeah.
It was a rabbit hole, wasn't it? Lewis Carroll.
Yeah.
Alice in Wonderland.
She fall down the well?
It was a rabbit hole.
Yeah, rabbit hole. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
It's a messed up movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if the books, again, don't read it. I never read it.
Yeah, there's a lot of psychological weird stuff going on there.
Like with the thing with the
drug induced kind of stuff.
Yes, the whole
visuals.
Again, I'm sure it's probably a lot weirder than the Disney movie, but again, never read it, never will.
Do you know who H.H. Holmes is? I think you and I talked about it, not on here, but I think I brought it up at one other point.
H.H. Holmes. It sounds really familiar.
Bullshit with each other.
Yeah, go for it.
Wait,
who's H.H. Holmes?
So he was a man during the Chicago's World Fair in 1893.
Oh, the murder
castle.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
So he just murdered all these people. Apparently, at one point he was in London around the same time of the murders, trying to sell human skeletons to schools.
Okay. Schools. Yeah, I remember that. And H.H. Holmes wasn't his actual real name. It was he had like a crazy name.
Yeah, and I guess I don't know what his actual name was, but I guess he claims he murdered up to 27 people.
Yeah, the murder castle. Go. Yeah,
and
nice.
But his own great-great-grandson believes that he was Jack the Ripper, based on some handwriting analysis.
Okay. Well, there's a handwriting come back up again.
There you go.
No, but
at least someone's using it.
Because H.H. Holmes was a doctor, though. He went to school to be a doctor, I believe.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to say he was a doctor.
But yeah, he built like elaborate things. There's like killing these people.
Because his doctor office turned into that. Like turned
right,
into the
that's
castle.
right. Yep.
A hotel. Or did he own a hotel?
It was a hotel.
But was he a doctor?
I think he might have had
medical background.
Something, yeah.
He went to school for PM. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get corrections.
One possible modern thing that was thrown out there was Joseph Barnett. The boyfriend or husband or friend of Mary Kelly. The theory is he loved Mary Kelly, didn't like her being a prostitute, so he decided to murder the other prostitutes to try and push her to get off the street. Put that fear in her. She didn't know he was doing this, but he was like.
And Mary Kelly was the third person?
Fifth one, the one that had the terrible death.
Okay.
The one that lived in the room. Yeah.
Was he a doctor?
No.
He's probably a barber.
He was something to do with fishermen.
Okay.
He know how to gut things and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. A fishmonger. Is that what that is?
Yeah.
What's a monger? Is that the one that just sells stuff?
It sells it, yeah. That's such a great word, monger.
Joey Monger.
Joey Mongers.
Jordan Monger.
He was killing these murders in order for her to get spooked and be like, maybe I shouldn't be a prostitute.
Yeah, okay. And then eventually he just boiled over.
I'm in love with you. And then she found out, murders her instead. He has a knowledge of how to get in the room, or he might have had a key to get in the room and then lock it as he left. Because remember, it was locked.
The door was
locked.
Right. That was a weird thing.
He would know how to get in there. Not the fact that you're oh, maybe I'll put my hand in the window, see if I can lock the door that's right here. I could do that, but he would know the knowledge of that.
Because she was in there destroyed, and he left and locked. Whoever it was locked the door when they left from the inside.
Unless he had a key to unlock it from the outside, because he would have had a key to this place because he lived there at one point. His age, height, and size matched that of some witness accounts.
What about his handwriting?
No handwriting for this guy. He fits the FBI's psychological profile of this man.
Okay. It makes sense.
It goes back to having some kind of knowledge, which he did something with the fish.
Right. So he knew how to use a knife.
Yes. And the last one I got for you, this is proposed this year by Sarah Bax Horton. She was a descendant of a police officer who actually worked the Jack the Ripper case. She proposes Hyam Hyams.
That's a fake name. That's a name?
Hyam Hyams. Hyam Hyams.
Okay.
He's a cigar maker who had been in and out of asylums. He was homicidal. He's attacked his wife at one point and asylum staff and patients.
Man, women are they're marrying the craziest people.
Yeah, but they couldn't do anything about it.
I guess they had to marry them.
Back in
this day, you had to get married.
But there's a lot of women who poison people. Oh, actually, there's one other thing. But yeah, a lot of women end up poisoning their husbands because no one really cared, or
You
like
couldn't divorce them and stuff like that.
You could, but like
It's
uncommon.
very looked upon.
But like they're also dependent on, like, a lot of them might not have been working too, so like they didn't really have a voice.
Yeah.
So this man also had epilepsy, which causes mental state to deteriorate. He became more violent. Apparently he had like a really bad arm that he couldn't use. He had a weird gait to his walk, which a lot of people, what does this say? There was he had a weird
gait. Okay. Yeah. So this guy was, or like the people they saw with the other victims.
Yeah, with them said he kind of some kind of weird gait to his walk, which this man had. Then he was in and out of institutions, and the murders. He ended up dying in his final institution. That's when the murders stopped happening. So this will be the last one. We're talking about handwriting. There's something called the Maybrick Diary. The Maybrick Diary is a purported journal allegedly written by James Maybrick, who's claimed to be Jack the Ripper. Who in it is claimed to be Jack the Ripper. It was brought to public attention in 1992 when a man named Michael Barrett came forward with a diary. According to Barrett, he had obtained the diary from a friend whose family had owned it for many years. The diary describes in graphic detail the infamous Whitechapel murders attributed to Jack the Ripper. It includes information about the killer's motives and mindset. The diary also mentions personal details about James Maybrick's life, connecting to the crimes. However, it doesn't actually say in the diary there's a James Maybrick writing this at any point. So this has intimate knowledge of the murders, but also has knowledge of this particular guy, James Maybrick's life.
And he doesn't do.
But at no point it's like, this is James today talking about this.
James the Ripper.
They're like Jambone Ripper.
They called him James Ripper, so it wasn't him, obviously.
So going back to what you said, like with the handwritten thing, like people today were able to find James Maybrick's will. And they saw the writing in that, and the writing in the diary do not match. So it's going back to what you say, like, aren't people getting handwriting samples from this stuff?
Okay.
At one point, though, Barrett, the guy who discovered this diary, or was given to him, in 1985, 3 years later, after this comes out, this diary's here, Barrett and his wife, Anne, confess that they forged the document. However, Anne later retracts that after they got divorced, saying that they did not forge the document.
Well, the document said what again?
The document ends in the diary.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
sorry.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was trying to.
Also, Maybrick died by poisoning from his wife, I'm pretty sure.
Man, poison was just flowing in these streets. You could just do whatever. You could poison anything. How would they know it was poison?
I mean, science was there to figure that stuff out.
Okay.
Like doctors were able to figure that stuff out.
They couldn't figure out how to put feces under the street that it would stop making people sick, but they figured out poison. Let's just poop in the street and
dump this buck
people
out the
keep
window.
getting cholera, but hey.
Don't worry about plumbing.
Yeah. But hey, we have the greatest poisons ever, and we can figure out who gets poisoned, but we can't figure out why cholera is a thing.
God forbid we wash our hands, though.
Right.
So what gets me with this stuff is like, what is Jack the Ripper's motive, or Jill the Ripper's motive?
It seems that you're asking me?
Yeah, just like that's when I was looking at all this stuff. Like, there has to be like, what's the reasoning behind this person doing this?
It seems that his motive is wanting to learn about the human, like wanting to tear apart the human body and understand it, maybe, while also having a vengeful something against women. Like, why else would he tear apart a body like that? Like, why would you? Obviously, he's
a lot of it was done. These women has to deal with like their female anatomy too,
right?
And they were all mostly considered prostitutes. So is he doing this?
It's not like he's doing it to like women that are like not prostitutes, though. Too
right. So is it some kind of moral religious thing? He's like, I'm doing the right thing,
and they don't deserve these parts to carry a child, and like
doing what they're doing. Like, is it moral? So, but. Most of them, three were English, or two of them were English, one was Irish, one was Swedish. So it's not, you couldn't really.
It wasn't all Jewish people.
Yeah.
It wasn't all British people.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, probably wasn't fueled by a hate for xenophobia.
Right.
It was more of like the xenophobia came in by the people investigating it.
Yeah, just general public. Because at one of the crime scenes, there was some kind of weird writing. I forgot to put in here, but something about Jewish people was found like very close to one of the bodies, and the person that first detected the camera scene told him to like wipe it off the wall. But it had something very anti-Semitic about it.
Okay.
So is he murdering these prostitutes out of moral reasons or religious reasons, or is he murdering prostitutes because like he might think no one really cares about these people? They might not really have family attachments.
So he wants to just have fun with them.
Yeah, just because like
he's interested.
No one might really care about these people. You know,
is it more of like he wants to dissect people, or does he actually get some kind of thrill out of killing them?
Right.
And dissecting
right.
them?
Or is he like trying to hide shove an urge down? Like by doing this, he's like, and the way he's doing it, he's like silencing an urge for a little bit. Some kind of mental.
Yeah. He's feeding an urge.
Yeah.
But he only does it 5 times.
Yeah.
Then does he get his fill? Does he die?
Does he move to another country and start doing this stuff?
But I guess you'd probably, but at this point in history, if he moved to a different country and the same type of things happened, they would have just said,
sure, yeah.
Unless it was like some other country, as far as like not European country where they maybe don't have the records or maybe don't have the connection, the ability to connect at this point in time. Like I'm not saying less civilized, I'm saying a society that at this point in history doesn't have the resources to research. Like someone dies, they don't have the resources to like follow up on it. They don't have the background knowing what's going on in England to connect the dots. But you'd figured someone at this point would have stumbled upon that in history. Yeah.
And it seems like once a year, someone's like, oh, I know Jack the Ripper is now. I know Jack the Ripper is now.
Yeah. It's in the news a lot.
Yeah.
More often than you would think it would be.
Also, like, he's doing this in like public places.
Yep.
So, and I think do you think it could be as in like a look at my work kind of thing? Like, look what I've done.
But the last one wasn't.
Right. But
he did leave it for people to find.
He would have, right. He didn't move the bodies anywhere. She didn't move the bodies anywhere. If it was just for
they didn't hide it.
Yeah. If it was just for the joy of killing them, why would he feel the need to like leave them? Why wouldn't he take these other, like, find ways to bring these other women to another more remote place to do something like this?
It seems that there's so much going on while also not having the ability to do. They were only being able to investigate as much as they could based on resources, based on the technology at the time. I mean, there might have been tons of fingerprints everywhere. Like, did they have the technology to analyze fingerprints? I'd imagine they had something like that, but like there must have been something like DNA. If they had DNA at the time, this guy would have been caught. Yeah. But they didn't. And so was this type of stuff going around everywhere else in the world at like this level?
Not like this, no.
Is it just because this is a Western view of these murders? They are so gruesome, but also you said people are getting poisoned every other day.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
So why is it these murders boiled to the top?
Just because of
the letters.
The letters. No one was found. Like no suspect was captured. But I think the nature in which these women were murdered,
right,
is what is like the first thing I think, at least in the Western world, that anyone's seen anything like that.
Yeah, I guess there's like that theory of like, or not the theory, but like the idea of like, why was Vlad Dracula so romanticized? It's because he just was jamming people on spikes. Yeah. There's the gruesome way he was doing it.
Sure,
was what caught on in history.
Yeah,
it wasn't so much that he was. I mean, there's also stuff going on, but I'm saying in general, the reason why we really know about him, especially in the spooky seasons, is because of what he did.
Right.
To people at that time. But
have you ever heard of any other like suspects thrown out there? Because again, like there's tons of people that are thrown out there.
Besides Johnny Depp and Leo, besides like the common ones, I never heard like very specifics on the people. So that's what I learned tonight, is about like specific people and how they were connected. Okay. Like that Barnett.
Yeah.
Like how he was connected.
Barnett, yeah.
Like you can't go through society, being interested in history, you're going to stumble upon videos about this and documentaries about this, and it's going to be probably talked about in school a little bit here and there. But Western civilizations is there's things in Western civilization that, like, if you're talking about crime and like the way criminology, Jack Ripper is going to come up.
Of course, yeah.
I think it's interesting that he was so successful, but also that it was so quick.
Yeah.
It was almost like Henry Avery.
Yeah.
In and out. He hit it and got out.
Yeah. So like, why would he stop or she stop?
He had to have died or been
That's what I'm thinking.
imprisoned or killed himself.
Else.
If it was a prostitute, who was doing this, another sex worker, did they get murdered? Did they poisoned? Was it this guy's wife poisoned them?
I also remember too, like, I forget what I was watching, but like serial killers, like they at some point or another, like they want to return to the scene of the crime. A lot of times, like they like to want to help the police or act like they want to help the police because so like I wonder if like someone ever
ingratiate themselves with the police.
Yeah,
it could have been a police officer.
Yeah, I wonder if like anyone did anything like that, like,
and they didn't know to look for it.
Yeah, let me know if you guys need anything. Like especially what's going on here.
It's not so much
if you need help.
At this point in time, I imagine because of the location, cops are like, we got the rich Victorian people, they need us right now. So, hey, the new guy on the force, go take care of this. And to collect the data, to collect the crime scene.
Right.
What are they doing a good job, like going through each area and really looking for any other. I mean, there could have been 2 feet from each body. There could have been a very big clue that they never watched because it was dark.
Yeah.
It wasn't a good area. It didn't seem like they really wanted to be there. They didn't really care because this person was a prostitute. So why should we investigate that deeply?
Yeah.
They did look at the bodies, but did they go and look at like, hey, there's a handprint on this wall. There could have been a bloody handprint on 7 different walls, like a block from there. No one really cared. Right. Or like in any outhouse because he ran into an outhouse and changed his clothes.
Again, because like no one cared because
he had to have been covered in blood.
Yeah.
So
you had like
who was the guy that was bloody? Look for that dude.
Yeah. Do you guys see anyone walk around just covered in blood?
Like literally covered in the most amount of blood ever. Looked like he dived into blood. Where's that dude? Did he walk by here? Oh, your outhouse is also covered in blood. Yeah. Can you please just show me who used it? Like they were asking people, who'd you see this girl with? Yeah. Were they asking, was this dude covered in blood later?
Did he have a lot of blood on him?
Yeah.
How much blood does this guy have on him?
Yeah. Where was his clothes? Did he clean his clothes? How did you do laundry back then?
Right. That's why I do think it's the midwife thing is kind of interesting.
But did he just throw away his clothes every time he did this? He had to be covered.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why he had a different hat on every time.
Yeah. Different hat, different mustache, fake mustache.
It's like Face Off.
Mustache off. Yeah,
imagine if
none of these people really.
They need to make a movie by Jack the Ripper, and Nicholas has to be Nick Cage. Nicholas Cage. He has to be Jack the Ripper. He'd be awesome at it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because he was just Dracula or something, right? In that,
Renfield.
Yeah,
I do want to see that. He'd be great at it, man, because he could do that like a crazy. He's so good at doing like a crazy face.
Yeah, he's good at most things, I would imagine. Losing a bunch of money, acting. I mean, I think there's
being famous, losing, being famous, and being famous again.
And
ironically,
just being just a rad dude.
Yeah.
Like he's just a cool guy, I guess. I mean, I don't know what he does in his personal life, but so I think are we establishing as the mysterious powers, are we establishing any type of, this thing is running long. We may even cut this up into 2 episodes. I'm going to say that right now. We may cut, like, I'm saying that now because you may go part 1, part 2, and I'm not going to do it. It's just going to be a cut at some point.
Oh, yeah.
But not to like mystical magic of cinema. We may just cut it and then post it as part 1, part 2. So no lead in maybe. But
yeah, and these are only a few of the suspects. Like I didn't include all of them, so I might have missed.
Yeah, I mean, people. What were they called again? Ripperologists. People become ripperologists about one person murdering a bunch of people.
Yep.
All they had to do was say, "Hey, did some dude come through with those super bloody?" Like, that's all someone wanted to say. Hey, everybody! Hey, come here. In the 2-block radius, who's the bloodiest?
Yeah.
That dude's it.
Look for some bloody clothes.
Give me a call.
A guy was covered in blood.
Like blood.
Here's my card.
Like his eyes are bloody because there's so much blood. It's just crazy. I guess it's dark.
Yeah, I mean,
where's the bloody footprints go? Whose apartment are they going?
Yeah, right. Like
He had to be dripping blood.
Yeah. So would he have like a carriage waiting for him to like jump in and like get carried away like they did in that From
The
Hell
inside of that
movie?
carriage would be jacked
Sure,
up.
yeah. But like how? Yeah, where's the bloody footprints? There's like
Is he just throwing everything in the river in the waterfront and then just run home naked? Who's a naked dude that has blood in his hair right now?
Yeah, dude. I
Maybe that's why his hair
know.
was auburn or whatever. They said sandy because it's blood from the previous person.
Maybe that's why the mustache was considered red because of the blood.
I mean, they could look at like people who is someone that had money to buy clothes and buy these tools. Like, it seems like you, at this point in time, like in this area, you had to be someone's wealthy.
Yeah.
Had of means, had some money
But maybe
to pull it off.
Maybe it could be a butcher. Like if you saw like a guy walking down the street with a little apron, like, oh, he's covered in blood. He's a butcher.
Yeah.
Maybe not his whole face, like,
he's wearing that lady's face, but it's not probably not him. Hey, have you seen a guy in a...
wearing the lady's face?
Yeah. Well, Jordan, thank you for this information. This is a Jack the Ripper. I'm sure we could do 20 different stories on these people.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there are probably other channels out there, YouTube or podcasts that do amazing background, very deep work on this. And I just don't think, do you think it'll ever be definitively solved?
No.
Unless they can like go back in time.
Yeah.
And be like, who the hell did this? Which is a trope in a lot of things.
Yeah.
Jack the Ripper. I think there's like, isn't there like, don't there's like the other people around the world they call as, America's Jack the Ripper, or, China's Jack the Ripper.
That's H.H. Holmes is considered America's Jack the Ripper, yeah.
So yeah, like there's other, again, even in the world, there's other Jack the Rippers.
Yeah. He's a Jack the Ripper of like he's the Michael Jordan of murdering people.
What's that new one that just found? Gilgo Beach murderer. That was just all in the news recently. They finally solved that one from like last 20 years. Yeah, you got to look it up. It's like the Gilgo Beach is over. He's a guy that basically murdered a bunch of women, and like
I missed all that.
He hid them like the details are kind of weird, but he hid them like on the same road, and they're all just generally apart. A lot of them are prostitutes. He used different cell phones, and everybody should go look at this up, because when they actually found out what's going on with this guy, they found like a bunch of cell phones, burner phones. They tracked him via cell phones, like where he was going when he was calling these people that he then murdered. Like,
jeez,
it goes pretty deep. Yeah, you should look that up. I think it's Gilgo Beach murder, and they just recently, like this past, date of this recording this past summer.
Wait, when did this all happen?
Like the murders?
Yeah,
I think they were all early 2000s.
Okay,
so it's like a new serial killer they recently solved.
Jeez.
Yeah, and I think it was pretty interesting how they took him down. It's a cold case for a while, and then they found it out. I think his wife and his kid were like, yeah, we knew something was weird with him, but blah, blah, blah. So I think you should look that up. That's pretty cool. Not pretty cool that these people died. And pretty cool, that interesting story of how they solved.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Pretty cool, these murders. No, I think it's just like an interesting story. Again, guy murdered people, including a child, like a prostitute and her child murdered. I don't think they ever figured out who that person was. Like, it was pretty messed up. Like, male and female prostitutes or sex workers. Yeah.
Man.
Just some guy. Like
Jack the Ripper.
Yeah. He's still there.
Alive.
Yeah. So thank you to everybody listening or watching us, or however you're getting this information in this episode. We do have socials. We are on, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. So on Instagram and Twitter, or Instagram and Facebook, we're at Mysterious Pals. At Twitter X, we're at mystery_pals.
Yes.
Someone stole a damn thing. And
we're on Threads. We got Threads going,
which is the same as that's at Mysterious Pals. Yeah. And obviously, if you're listening on podcasts, look us up on YouTube. Mm-hmm. You could also find us on, if you go to mysteriousspals.com, it takes us to a link tree. Will link us to
all the social
stuff. If you're listening to us on a podcast feed, go watch us on YouTube. We would, if you liked us, in either case, please follow or subscribe. It really would help us out as we're trying to build something here that really helps us out. Those numbers gets us some type of connection to something.
Yeah.
It helps us out in some ways. So please do that. Either follow us if you're listening to podcasts, subscribe if you're on YouTube, or do both or vice versa, whatever. As long as you do something to help us out, that's great. If not, no big deal. Just stop back whenever you want. We don't care. We're just happy to be here. So Jordan, thank you again for this episode. And thank you to all the listeners out there again, or watchers, however. And we will see you next time with a mysterious episode.
Stay mysterious.
Stay mysterious, friends. Good night.